We've heard this term a lot. I have anyway. I don't remember the first time I started hearing it. Every time these things pop up in the vernacular, people act as if it's been around forever. And maybe it has. I just haven't heard it. Gaslighting. And you hear it used a lot. And I think sometimes misused. Gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. What the heck is it? And how does it affect us psychologically? Well, guess what? We have an expert. And his name is Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services in East Lansing. And he joins us every Tuesday to talk something psychological. I can hardly even get the word psychological out of my lips this morning, Doc. I don't know what's going on. Of course, only 35, so, maybe I'm frozen. I don't know. Hey, good morning. It's nice to have you.
Well, good morning to you, my friend. Well, listen, gaslighting, simply stated, is when psychologically someone is trying to manipulate you and have you begin to question your own thoughts and behaviors. Gaslighters are very destructive when someone fully believes them and falls under their sway. This particularly happens in romantic relationships or in close family and friendship relationships. The gaslighter is often a narcissist or even a sociopath who must always be right as part of their controlling the other person. The danger for the person who is being manipulated by the gaslighter is that they begin to lose self-esteem and even a sense of self-control, as they are always told they are wrong, and over time can become convinced that the sky is pink, if that is what the gaslighter demands they believe. In extreme cases, the victim begins to question their own beliefs. Their own personality and ability to think and function on their own are impacted. In extreme cases, there can be physical battering and manipulation to the point the control can be complete and the gaslighter rules supreme. Regardless of the level of gaslighting, Mike, you're experiencing, the following are things to escape the control of the gaslighter.
Okay.
Accept something's wrong. This is easier said than done. Accept something's wrong in the relationship, and you need to make changes. Determine to set boundaries in the relationship as to what will be acceptable and unacceptable. Implement the boundaries. Begin to give credence to your own feelings and not allow someone else to continue having you under their sway. Except there's going to be anger and a very strong attempt by the gaslighter to have the relationship continue as it has been. And if the gaslighter is a friend, coworker, or employer, the easiest thing to do after unsuccessfully attempting to change the relationship is to really simply have nothing to do with the person. Consider them toxic to your health. It becomes more complicated if it's a spouse, and even more complicated if there are children involved, okay?
Yeah.
There's still the need to end the gaslighting in order to have you be able to function as a human being. Confiding in friends and family about the situation can help give you strength to end the friendship or the relationship with the gaslighter. And then finding a therapist experienced in working with narcissists and other manipulative persons that do gaslighting can be helpful to overcome the situation. And if it is a spousal relationship, it can be helpful to have both of you go to therapy together. This is said and advised, even though gaslighters do want to continue gaslighting, it really will only honestly change in therapy if they desire to change. Now, my point for you to remember is not to be too negative, but gaslighters tend to want to gaslight and often will go from victim to victim if one frees yourself from the person's grasp. So gaslighters are people, you're lucky if you don't run into them, and if you do run into them and you fall into their sway, it's really hard to get rid of them. Like they're a bad bunch, annoying bunch to be around.
It's kind of like it is part of their personality. It's kind of on them. They're going to have to figure out how to change. I had a little drinking game of coffee going this morning, Doc. Every time you say gaslighting, gaslighter, gaslight, I took a sip, and now I'm really going to have to go to the bathroom pretty soon. I'll tell you what. But where do we get gaslighting? Who came up with that? I wonder. Well, actually, I've heard this so often.
Well, there's a play in 1938 that was called The Gaslighter. Okay. And it had to do with a wife had gained a lot of money, and it was actually turning the gas lights at that time up and down, trying to convince the person was going insane or losing their mind. So
okay.
what's happened just recently that's come into vogue and being used right now. So when you hear the word gaslighter, that's actually what it means. It's just one of those words that kind of moves into the vernacular.
I got you.
Just pick up on it. So, but they're often the narcissists. They're the people that have to think they're wonderful. There's sun in the morning, so they can see, and it goes down at night, so they can sleep. And also the sociopath, the much worse variety. These are the ones that are manipulative, can be out for destruction, just want to control a person. So it's something to stay away from. And if you are with a person, around persons that always have to be right, always putting you down, and even worse, they start controlling what you're thinking, and things that you wouldn't know are not true. All of a sudden, you start believing them or get badgered into believing them. These are bad persons to be around and can be very dangerous for your self-esteem. And they're really more of them than you might think. The badgerers, the controllers, the manipulators, and
well, I think everybody has a little bit of that in them at some point. But here's a you mentioned spousal. Boy, oh boy, I would hope you would know the other person well enough when you're getting into that marriage that it could be toxic, unless love is blind. But that's a tough one to get after you've already said I do.
Well, that is very true. And a lot of times when people are falling in love, they will just go along with things, or the gaslighter just comes on more and more with the techniques. And they use their skills at manipulating people, just saying good things and convincing you how much you love them. Then over time, they kind of weave this web and pull you further and further in, and just get to the point that you lose really your own thoughts, credence for yourself, and you start believing. Because if you talk to people, particularly you mentioned those in relationships that if they've been divorced or separated or had radical change, they'll say how they lost themselves in the relationship. They became an appendage to the gaslighter. They just went along with what the person said and kind of lost themselves in the process. And it's a dangerous and a bad thing for a person to get themselves into. So if you do find that you're with someone who's always right, controlling you, very negative, and you start having beliefs or saying and doing things that really are totally contrary to you, your character, what you believe, then you really have to find a way to get away from there, and certainly change the whole situation, because you don't want to be with a gaslighter, because if you don't watch out, you'll just be fully controlled. And even it's worse if you're with the batterer and that type of a person too. Not that all gaslighters are batterers, but if you're just that type, then you're really
that's a whole nother level.
That's a whole nother level. Yeah, that's right.
Well, maybe I am a bit. When I first met Lisa, I used to tell her that I was actually Brad Pitt, and it was obvious I wasn't. But there were times I had this Brad Pitt mask I would wear, and then I would go, no, I'm Brad Pitt. And eventually she started to believe it, and that's how I got her to say I do. Now I'm stuck, and I have to, I don't know. I just told her I'm an old, I've not aged well. I'm Brad Pitt, but I haven't aged well, honey. And she believes it. So maybe I'm a gaslighter, Doc. I don't know.
Well, listen, I'm a young Sean Connery, so I've gotten away to that. So I guess the main thing is, obviously, if you're with someone, you've been together, you have kids, I mean, you obviously have a good relationship, certainly, hopefully a good relationship, but it's a relationship you work on. But that's different. The gaslighter is a very called a negative, a dark, a destructive, a controlling kind of a person. And you really want to stay away from them. And if you think about it, you certainly know these type of people, very, very manipulative, controlling, and they really say they want you to think just like they do, and even demand it. And after a while, you begin to question your own statements, like when you start thinking the sky is pink because Mary or Chucky told you that over and over again, and you start saying, well, it really is.
Well, there are nights, there are sunsets, sometimes it is, and it's beautiful. So, we're up on time, Doc. We got to get going. Dr. John Braccio, it's always a pleasure. I look forward to Tuesday with you, and happy Thanksgiving. Are you cooking, or you're just eating?
I'm going to be eating out. I'll be with family, with kids and grandkids and my beloved wife. So we will be enjoying and really just the most wonderful time of the year. I think that actually from a Thanksgiving is a time that's joyful. It's a time that people get together. We always give thanks. So this is a nice day for celebration and being together.
Fabulous. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services. Dr. John B., it's good to have you, my friend, and happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk next week.
Very good. Bye-bye. Have a great week.
Bye-bye, buddy. 1320 WILS, Mike Austin back with you in just a minute.